Referees have just one job, but sometimes they screw it up by making some of the most criminal decisions you would ever see. From goals being given or taken wrongly, to clear fouls not being punished, wrong offside calls, and some of the most bizarre situations, these are some of the worst refereeing decisions in football. Number 12. Hurst toes the line. England's 1966 World Cup success came with lots of controversies, no thanks to Geoff Hurst's strike in the final. At first glance, the ball definitely didn't cross the line, and we can also see that from TV replays showing that a shot cannoned back off the crossbar and failed to completely enter the goal. But guess what? It was given. Clear daylight robbery. The referee, Godfrey Dins, gave the goal after consulting his linesman, Tafik Baramov, who was from Azerbaijan, and there were rumors floating around that the assistant referee on his deathbed revealed that he made his call as payback for Stalingrad. The rumor, however, is completely unsubstantiated. Number 11. Thatcher somehow avoids red. When Manchester City's Ben Thatcher whacked Portsmouth midfielder Pedro Mendes in the face with his elbow during their 2006 Premier League encounter, you would have thought that it was a straight red. Pedro Mendes was completely knocked out and needed oxygen, but somehow Thatcher escaped with a yellow card. You could see that Thatcher wasn't even going for the ball. He was just focused on having a swing at Mendes, which is completely unacceptable. The good thing about this situation is that the FA later corrected the wrong by banning him for 8 straight matches. What if I told you that the decision was nothing compared to what we were about to witness from this next referee? Number 10. Reading's ghost goal. We had a football nightmare after seeing some atrocities committed by referee Stuart Atwell in Reading's match against Watford in the English Championship in September 2008. At 0-0, 30 minutes gone, Reading had a corner, and from the resulting scramble, assistant referee Nigel Bannister saw something that nobody else did. The assistant ref flagged Stewart over, and together they were awarded the most outrageous goal you would ever see to Reading. When Atwell pointed to the center circle, almost everyone was confused as to what the hell just happened. Atwell was just 25 years old at the time, and as you would expect, both he and Bannister were grounded the following weekend for awarding a ghost goal. But it gets even more ridiculous with this next decision. Number 9. Mistaken identity. Referee Andre Mariner's decision to send off the wrong player is not something you see happen every day. It was on March 22, 2014, in Arsene Wenger's 1000th match with Arsenal. With Chelsea already leading 2-0 against Arsenal, things got worse for the Gunners when Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain decided to save his shot with his hands to concede a penalty. The referee astonishingly showed a straight red to Kieran Gibbs, despite the Ox admitting his guilt. Mariner would later apologize for the mistaken identity as the Gunners fell to a 6-0 drubbing. A former top-level British, Clive Thomas, who said in 2012 that he had lost faith in modern officials, argued that the 4 officials in charge of the game should have been banned for the rest of the season. Number 8. Frank Lampard's disallowed goal. During the 2010 World Cup, losing 2-1, England were absolutely sure they had leveled the match in their meeting with Germany after Frank Lampard's shot came down off the bar and over the line before bouncing out, but the linesman astonishingly ruled it out, saying that the ball didn't completely go over the line. However, replays showed that it did. The replay showed clear space between the line and the ball, but referee Jorge Larionda, alongside his officials, didn't think so. The incident led to renewed calls for the introduction of goal line technology, a battle which we've since won. Number 7. Rodri escapes. But even with the introduction of VAR, controversies continue to remain to this day, with Everton desperate for points to avoid relegation during the tail end of the 2021 and 22 season. Manchester City's Rodri attempted to control a loose ball in his own penalty towards the end of the game, but the ball surely struck his arm outside of his natural silhouette. But guess what? Even with a VAR review magnifying the point of contact past his t-shirt line, the penalty wasn't awarded. This would prove to be a crucial point in the title race, as City ended up beating Liverpool to the title with just a single point. Everton manager at the time, Frank Lampard, simply couldn't believe it after the game, saying that even a 3-year-old could tell you that it is a penalty. Number 6. Bayer's phantom goal. We also saw one of the most bizarre goals in Bundesliga football back in 2013. A hole in the net was the culprit this time when Hoffenheim hosted Bayer Leverkusen. Stefan Kiesling's header from a corner went to the side netting, and Kiesling placing his hands to his head should have been a clue that the effort zipped wide. But everything seemed to happen so fast with the ball fan in the back of the net, and many people didn't actually notice what had happened. It appeared that Kiesling tried to tell the ref that it wasn't a goal, but the goal stood, and the strike proved to be crucial in a 2-1 win for Leverkusen. The goal frame and the net have now found themselves in a local museum. What in the world? Number 5. We don't drink Fanta. Okay, so in 1975, Wolf-Dieter Ahlenfelder, who was only 3 games into his refereeing career in the Bundesliga, made one of the craziest decisions that you'll ever see. During Werder Bremen's clash with Hanover in 1975, he blew the whistle for halftime after just 32 minutes of action. The linesman tried to intervene, but the ref still ended up blowing the whistle at 43 minutes and 30 seconds. When asked why he did that, Ahlenfelder would later admit that he had a few bottles of beer and schnapps before the game, saying, "We are men, we don't drink Fanta." What in the world? Number 4. A travesty. Manchester United survived one of the great goalkeeping blunders in the history of the sport when Roy Carroll was caught unaware, scrambling from a near 50-yard shot from Pedro Mendes in stoppage time when the Red Devils faced Tottenham in 2005. The goalkeeper desperately tried to keep the ball out of the net and back into play after it had clearly crossed the line, but official Rob Lewis didn't see it and waved play on. It wasn't just a travesty, as one of the commentators said, it was one of the most heinous crimes in football. The match ultimately ended in a goalless draw to Tottenham's disappointment. Number 3. Graham Poll, Merseyside mixes up everything. Things went south for Graham Poll during the match between Croatia and Australia at the 2006 World Cup. Clearly losing the plot, Poll booked Josip Simunic not once, not twice, but 3 times before brandishing a red card. Who gives a player 3 yellow cards? To be fair, referee Graham Poll would later say that Simunic, who was a Croat born in Australia, protested in an Australian accent after the first yellow card, which made Poll make a mistake and write down an Australian player's name instead. What a funny story. But even before then, Poll had already been linked to some controversies, making himself an unpopular figure among the Everton faithful in 2000 when he made a horrible call to deny the Toffees what could have been a memorable victory over Merseyside rivals Liverpool. With the score 0-0 in the dying moments, Liverpool's goalkeeper Sander Westerveld booted a free kick into Don Hutchison's back, and the ball found its way to the net. But Poll said that he'd already blown the full-time whistle and didn't award the goal despite some injury time remaining on the clock. Number 2. The biggest FIFA scandal. Perhaps arguably the biggest FIFA scandal played out in 2002 when Ecuadorian referee Byron Moreno became public enemy number 1 in Italy after a string of terrible decisions saw them knocked out of the 2002 World Cup by joint host South Korea. Moreno awarded South Korea a soft penalty and also showed Hwang Soon-hong a yellow card for a challenge that he would later admit was deserving of a red card. But it didn't end there. Moreno also overlooked an elbow in the face of Alessandro Del Piero inside the box, as well as a boot on Paolo Maldini's head. But we ain't done just yet. The ref also sent off Francesco Totti for allegedly diving when he should have had a penalty, and then also incorrectly ruled out Damiano Tomasi's would-be golden goal in extra time for offside. Moreno would retire the following year after finding himself dealing with more controversies, suspensions, and scandalous acts. Number 1. The Hand of God. Perhaps the most memorable of them all is Diego Maradona's infamous handball for Argentina, which led to a goal that knocked England out of the 1986 World Cup quarterfinals. Tunisian official Ali bin Nasser would later blame his assistant referee for missing the ridiculously obvious handball. It would end up being a legacy-defining moment for Maradona. Honorable mentions. We could also talk about a French football ref who got banned after lashing out at a player, an AFCON ref blowing a full-time whistle between Mali and Tunisia at the 2021 AFCON, Thierry Henry controlling the ball with his hand against Ireland at the 2009 World Cup playoffs, and don't even get me started on Francis Patrick Battiston being knocked out and left unconscious with 2 missing teeth, 3 cracked ribs, and damaged vertebrae from a reckless tackle from Germany's keeper Harald Schumacher, who somehow remained on the pitch in the 1982 World Cup semi-final with no foul being given. Chelsea were denied a place in the 2009 UEFA Champions League final after referee Tomo Vrebo ignored 4 separate penalty appeals in their semi-final clash against Barcelona. And I'm pretty sure you must have seen many other terrible refereeing decisions in football.